Hi friends, it's Carly and I'm back again with another review. So for those of you who've been following me for a little while now, you know that there is nothing that I love more than a timely review video. And because of shipping and ordering and just the state of the world right now, that has not always been possible, hence the last whirlwind video a day for 2 weeks tour that I just did. But in the case of this next figure, I actually have been hunting. It was supposed to be released the middle of this month. I went to the store, it is an exclusive, a Walgreens exclusive, where it was supposed to be, and it was on the shelf and I bought it. So I feel like this is the second time that has happened. I am not super optimistic that it means that Walgreens is changing their handling of exclusive toy policy or practices at all, but I do feel really lucky, and with that said, let's just get right into it because this guy is kind of hard to come by so far. He's pretty new, and knowing how Walgreens typically works, he might be difficult to get in hand for a while, so I can't wait to show you. Let's take a look at Mark Spector, Moon Knight. So this guy we really need to get a close-up look at because he is all white everything, and it's so, like, awesome to look at. Just the way that everything fits together. They do use a variety of texturing, and we're really going to get into that in a second. I've got some of his accessories in his hands just because I sort of wanted you to see how they would work, but as I show you the figure, I'm going to go ahead and take them out. We'll talk a little bit more about the accessories in a second. And he's got his staff here. So this figure, so Moon Knight, let me talk a little bit about the character. So Mark Spector was a mercenary, and through circumstances that I don't know, he died at the foot of a statue or shrine to the moon god, and I think that the name is Khonshu. I'm going to show you a comic that somebody loaned me. We're going to pop his hat off to take this cape off real quick, that has like a brief description. And then he was brought back to life in the shadow of the moon god, and he sets out wearing this costume, which is basically a tribute to the moon god, and fights crime. He has gone completely insane because of the voices that he hears and the experience that he had being returned back to life. And he's just sort of a mysterious, crazy figure. Like, I think one of the intriguing things about him that I've heard is that you kind of never know if he is actually communicating with this god, if it's real, or if something else drove him mad and he's just sort of like off the rails. And it seems like a lot of times with Moon Knight that it's a combination of both. So I think that's a really cool story. I've tried to find a great place to start. This is the book that my friend loaned me. It's by Cullen Bunn. He's one of my favorite comic book creators. He does a book called Harrow County, which I highly recommend. But, so I was excited about that. I think he's also done some Deadpool. He does just everything. He's super talented. So my friend loaned me this, and it's just a series of short stories, which I found kind of interesting. I have to say that honestly, I didn't feel like any of them were very good. But what they were really good at was sort of introducing you to the kinds of things that Mark runs into and giving you an idea of his struggles. So if you do have a comic book store nearby and you haven't read any Moon Knight, like I said, these stories aren't really great to me. I've seen a lot better from Cullen Bunn, but what they do is give you a nice introduction into who Moon Knight is after his experience. Like, so now he's out in the world fighting crime, and this is what he's dealing with. And it's kind of interesting. So I think this is worth picking up to see if this is a character that you would be interested in. For me, it definitely piqued my interest, and I think I'm going to go a little bit more old school to get into him because he's been around for a really long time. So with all of that out of the way, let's go ahead and look at the actual figure. So the awesome thing about this figure is that he is all white everything, and I'm really hoping that's not making him too difficult to look at on camera in the light. But the main feature of this figure that they use is alternating finishes. So he's got a really nice matte finish all over on the bodysuit that is sort of dry and lackluster intentionally. Then he's got these arm guards and leg guards that are like his boots that are pearlized. So they use that pearlescent plastic that we've seen on other metallic type figures, like my Iron Patriot. That also is used on his belt and on the moon overlay here. So this is one of the few places where we have a contrast color. We've got his moon insignia here, and it's outlined in black, but the paint on that insignia is the pearlescent paint. So it's a slightly different texture and look from his body, which is really cool and effective to me. He's got the matte finish all the way down to his boots. So below this pearlescent plastic is the nice matte figure, or the nice matte finish again, which I really like. And then the only other color that we have on this head, he does come with an alternate head that I'll show you in a sec, is this sort of smoky gray, I don't know, highlight, low light, I guess, that goes around his cowl, which is so cool looking. It really makes him look like otherworldly, I think. And then let's get focus on his eyes. His cowl and mask are two separate pieces, and his mask goes over his entire face. So you can think of Rorschach or something like that. It's like a pullover complete mask, or Red Hood, that covers his nose and mouth entirely, but he has these dark lined eyes that are just very striking, especially in a face with no other features. So it's such a cool look. In all white, I mean, this is one of the most striking figures I probably have. I'm so looking forward to him when he was announced, and having him in hand, it's very exciting. He feels really cool. So let me pop off this head, and I'll show you the other head that he comes with, and we'll go over the accessories as well before we do articulation. So here is his alternate head, which is also super striking. It's a black pullover mask with white eyes, and he still has the gray low lighting on the cowl, but with that black face, it like stands out a little bit less. But oh my gosh, he's so cool looking. I just really, really dig the design, that they kept it 100% the way that I've seen the source material done. He's completely devoid of identifying features and all cloaked in white. So I really like that. I'm going to leave the black head on because I think that as we get into looking at articulate points, it'll be nice to have a reference that's a slightly different color, just to make it easier to read on camera. But when I display, I think I'm definitely going to be using this white head, which has sort of the black outlined silver pearlized eyes. It's so cool looking. So let's look at the other accessories that he comes with. You saw in the beginning, he has this cape, which also has that gray wash across the back of it, which just gives you the idea that he's sort of cloaked in shadow. It has a peg for to go into his back so that it'll sit flat. He's got his staff, which is made out of the pearlescent plastic. It's kind of hard to focus on that, but it's just a staff. It is about the length of his body though. So yeah, it's a 6-inch staff. He's got, so the hands that he has on him right now are weapon holding hands that he can hold his staff or any of the number of, I'm going to call them moonerangs. I don't know what they are, but you'll see in a second why I call them that. Then he's got his 2 fist hands right here, which are in the matte finish, which is really cool and I like a lot. So I'll probably have 1 staff and 1 fist hand, I think, when I display him. So here's what I'm calling the moonerangs. As far as an accessories pack goes, in the package, this figure looks really awesome. He's got 5 of these, his staff, an extra set of hands, his cape, and 2 heads. So the box was full of all kinds of things to see, but these are not especially functional to me. They're actually really difficult to pick up, and the small ones kind of irk me a little bit. So this is what I'm calling the moonerangs. And he uses them that way in this book that I just read. So they are moon-shaped sort of throwing weapons, throwing blades. They are very, very thin. It's difficult to sort of portray that on camera, but they're paper thin. almost to the point where they're translucent, and they are made out of the pearlized plastic. So you get 2 large ones like this, and then you get 3 small ones. Now here's the thing with the small ones, and like, this is just where my mind goes. You know, sometimes my mind goes off the rails a little bit, but these to me look like fingernail clippings, and I just like, I can't get over it. They're so gross. That's so silly, but like, once I get something like that in my mind, I can't let it go. And this literally looks like a fingernail clipping that somebody missed the trash with. So they're super fine. It's hard to focus on them because they're so small, but they're just teeny tiny little moons. It's really difficult to capture them, but there, can we see that? There we go. So you get 3 of these. Now, when I put the large one in his hand at the start of the video, it is so thin and frail that like, even in his grip, it doesn't grip especially well. It's sort of just like sitting there sort of gently, and like any movement, it'll sort of like flop out. So it's not a great secure grip, but it does look kind of neat. And I think that for photography opportunities, you can probably make a lot out of it. But as far as display opportunities, not so much for me. But I do appreciate an accessories pack that expresses the character. So all of these things make sense with the character. They fit the source material that I've seen. They fit the book that I just read. And it makes sense with Mark Spector. So I appreciate the effort to give us a complete package at the same $19.99 price point without like, you know, gouging us for a couple extra bucks. At least they're making an attempt to give us something special in our exclusives, and it's not just a normal figure that we can only get one place. So with all of that said, let's go ahead and look at all of the points of articulation. So the head is great. It turns 360 degrees. Even with this cowl on, he gets a really great look down and a really strong look up. So this is a vinyl cowl that is incredibly thin and flexible, which I appreciate. It's not obstructing movement at all. With his cloak on, you do get a little bit of obstruction in the front. Let me snap this head on real quick and show you that you do get a little bit of obstruction in the front right here because of just, you know, vinyl on vinyl. But you can sort of like tuck his chin in and still make use of that. Does it look a little funky? Yeah, maybe, but it does work. So I'm not mad at all about the movement in the head with or without the cloak on. The shoulders are great. We get a great lateral lift that I really like. And he also has butterfly joints, which I'm always happy to see. Look at these joints. Now we just looked at a figure with a similar small frame body, Wild Child, that had butterfly joints that I think, yeah, he's smaller. But they didn't go back nearly as far. So I like, this is actually sort of a mid-size frame, and he goes all the way back. So I really like that for flexibility because he does his fighting style sort of lends itself to ninja movements. It's more of a flexible fighting style. So being able to pose him in that way, I think is really important. Let's see. So we've got his butterfly joints. We've got a turn in the actual shoulder joint. We've got the bicep that goes 360 degrees. We have a really, really good double jointed elbow here. Looks like that. I'm really excited for this pinless articulation we keep hearing about. And tell me what you guys think too. This is just a side note, but I noticed that the 2-pack with Old Man Logan, Old Man Hawkeye, and Baby Hulk, that Old Man Hawkeye has the new pinless articulation, but Old Man Logan does not. And that seems really strange to have a 2-pack with new technology on one of 3 figures. Tell me what you guys think about. Anyway, moving on. So here is Moon Knight's turning wrist. Great, we're happy with all of that. His torso gets a really good deep bow forward. You can see. This white is so hard to focus on, guys, so I'm kind of just like glancing over it when it's not focusing because there's nothing for the camera to look at. So here is the lean back. It's not quite as far as we've seen in the past, but it's still pretty good. We have a full 360-degree turn in the waist with a flexible belt that doesn't obstruct motion at all. Now the lateral lift in the legs, you guys know how I get about this. Not great. We've had better, for sure, but it's all right. It functions. We have the turn in the thigh here. The beautiful bend in the knee, which is really satisfying and successful. He does have his 360-degree boot turn. And these are the flexible, super flexible, manipulatable feet and ankles that we've been getting really on everything of late. So I'm always really happy with those. It really helps with action poses and creating poses, standing poses or squatting poses or sort of like leaping poses. So I'm really happy with the feet always. I am really happy with this figure, you guys. And I was almost a little bit loath to even talk about him so early because I know that it's a Walgreens exclusive and I have been on the Walgreens exclusive hunt so many times before that I know how difficult it is and frustrating to get these figures in hand. So I was kind of going to wait for a minute, but the reason that I wanted to go ahead and do the video, even though I got him kind of early in the game, is because this figure is so worthwhile. I love the way that they created texture and depth. I love the shadowy grays on his cowl and his cape. The accessories pack is complete, if not 100% functional. It'll be great for photography. And when I saw this figure, I knew that I wanted to try to get him, and now that I have him, I have to encourage you guys to try to get him. I can recommend Pop Finder as a good way to track down a figure. I used Pop Finder to find him in my area where there are literally dozens and dozens of Walgreens. So I had to go a little bit out of my neighborhood, a little bit off the beaten path, but he was there on the shelf. So Pop Finder is popfinder.com, and it's a great tool for tracking down toys without having to actually drive 100 miles around whatever town you live in. So I highly recommend you guys pick up Mark Spector. He is posable, he's tight, look, so we don't have the looseness in the joints. You can see that he like moves the way that I move him and isn't loose. So there's no wobbliness in him. His joints are tight. Everything functions the way that it should. The butterfly joints are beautiful. The textures of the paint are awesome. When you have an all white figure like this, making it as dynamic as they have is really kind of a feat. And I'm super, super impressed and happy with him and glad that I tracked him down. So let me know about your guys' hunts. Let me know what you're tracking down right now. If you get your hands on a Moon Knight, let me know where you found him, how long it took you. If you used Pop Finder and you like that, let me know about that. So I am going to be going on a much more reasonable posting schedule now that I have finished all of those crazy figures that I have. I do have a new series, and I can go ahead and announce that I'll be starting the Deadpool, I almost said Dead Man, Deadpool Strong Guy Bath series. And that will start in a couple of days. We're gonna keep the posting rate kind of between the every other to every 2 days range, just so that everybody has a chance to actually watch the video before I post something new. Let me know if there's anything you guys would like me to review. I am working on a nostalgia piece that I'm really excited about sharing with you guys. I also got my hands on 2 more volumes of Age of Apocalypse, and you guys, I am grinding through it. So let me know if you want to hear more of my thoughts on Age of Apocalypse. I'm just going to read it, and I'm just gonna get through it because I have the feeling there's gonna be more of these figures, and it's always better to know who you're talking about before you dive into their action figure iteration. So I'm gonna stay at it. Let me know if there's anything else you want me to read or post or share, and I will do it. I'm here for you guys, and I'm having so much fun. Thank you for watching my video, and I'll be back in a couple days with another one. Bye, friends.